Number 5. Contrary to what it may seem, this is not a tie. Both of these songs happen to be right next to each other when I put this list together, and they happen to be by the same artist. So for the sake of some variety, I've decided to combine them into one entry to make space for No More to be at number 10. So really, in this next entry, I'm going to be talking about what are essentially my number 6 and my number 5 combined into one entry, just so I can talk about more music, and so that the video flows a little better. Got it? Okay, let's go.
Nowadays, everybody wanna talk like they got something to say, but nothing comes out when they move their lips, just a bunch of gibberish.
You'd think I'd have a lot to say about one of the most prolific producers in hip-hop, at least at the time, but I don't think I do. I know him most for his work producing Eminem's first few albums. Never really dove into NWA or even his solo stuff aside from...
It literally feels like a lifetime ago, but I still remember the shit like it was just yesterday.
But I can give a legend due respect, and in this case, I can give it twice. Lucky me! First up is the next episode, the song you'll no doubt recognize as the origin of the "smoke weed every day" meme. Even though it's at the very end of the song and the guy that's most commonly associated with the phrase didn't even say it. Rest in peace, Nate Dogg. But whatever, that's beside the point. The song is still fantastic. Tight as hell beat thanks to that sticky guitar line, while Snoop and Dre are doing what they do best. Being chill as hell. This is what Snoop is best at. Smooth club jams. Not auto-tuned crooning. Both verses are mostly about thug posturing in the club, so it's far from deep, but that hardly matters. Dre and Snoop sound so cool, calm, and collective that it's easy to vibe with this regardless. That's all it really needed to do anyway, and for that, I call it a complete success. Forget About Dre is another beast entirely, though.
Y'all know me, still the same OG, but I've been low-key, hated on by most these niggas.
From what I can tell, this was marketed as somewhat of a comeback single for Dre, even though this wasn't even the lead-off single for the album that it appears on, but whatever. And in that respect, it's basically what I Need a Doctor should have been. It's a different beast from the next episode because of its tone and writing. Even though it uses similar guitar tones as the next episode, they're way more aggressive and angry. And that's probably because this is technically more of an Eminem song than it is a Dr. Dre song, since Eminem wrote most of Dre's 2 verses. Yeah, no wonder I love this. In a way, I can see that kind of cheapening what Dre's saying since it didn't really come from his mind, but screw it, these verses are still great. They reassert Dre's dominance as a rapper and producer. He's snapping back at his haters while backing it all up, and it's really beautiful. Plus his flows and present in general are on par with them, and it's perhaps the best example of Dre's rapping that I've heard yet. Granted, I haven't listened to that much of his solo material, maybe someday. And of course I love M's own verse as well, for how over-the-top and violent it is. This guy loves Dr. Dre so much he would kill a man to show it. Most rappers in the 2010s fail to feel threatening when they talk about shooting you or selling drugs, but M sounds legitimately threatening. He knows what he's doing. And at the end of the day, if each of these songs got their own slot on this countdown, Forgot About Dre would be the higher song. Though both tracks are fantastic in their own right and show off just how talented Dre is as both a producer and a rapper. Sometimes, you need to feel relaxed, or angry. Either way, the doc's got you covered.
Smoke weed every day.
The motherfuckers act like they forgot about Dre.
I try to say goodbye and I choke. Yeah, try to walk away and I stumble.
Number 4. You know, I used to hate boy bands on principle. I'm glad I'm past that.
Baby, bye, bye, bye.
Oh yeah, this is the stuff. When I look back on early 2000s pop, this is the style that immediately comes to mind. Flashy, catchy boy band pop. The guiltiest of pleasures if you're not in its intended demographic of teenage girls. Actually, calling this a guilty pleasure would kinda be insulting to it, because, there's nothing to really feel guilty about here. This holds up so damn well. The guitar accents are punchy, the percussion is bubbly in the most satisfying way, and the synths are sugary and a little self-indulgent. I don't think I realized just how incredible this sounded until my year-end listen, because this isn't the sort of power you expect from boy bands. It's aggressively danceable. Dance-gressive. Grenceable. Portmanteaus. Those are fun. And even the content is pretty much the opposite of what you expect from a boy band. Justin Timberlake and The others, I recognize Chris Kirkpatrick because he can get his ass kicked. Anyway, these guys are kissing off and it's incredibly satisfying. These 5 are pissed, holy crap. But it never feels over-the-top spiteful. I get the feeling this is justified because of how manipulative they portray the girl as. Why else would they use the word game to describe this relationship? It's probably safe to assume they weren't playing Mario Kart. Or maybe they were. After all, that game is known to end friendships. At least, according to the internet. NSYNC also nails these vocals. Their performance is very confident, but it still sounds fun. It's a breakup anthem, and the show they put on is about as anthemic as it could be. It's strong and final. This is over. You don't have control over me anymore because I'm moving on. And what a note to end things on. In a way, it almost feels like the Forget You of 2000. Cool despite how spiteful it is, and so fun you couldn't possibly be mad at it. And if I may take one more cheap shot, how is it that JT sounds cooler as a member of a boy band than he does on most of Man of the Woods? The man's better as a puppet with an afro than he is as a Steve Jobs type presenting a breakdancing robot. There's something wrong there.
Here is my confession. May I be your possession?
Number 3.
Say, little bitch, you can fuck with me if you wanted to.
Cardi B has been killing it lately, and I'm proud of her. Even though she's transphobic and homophobic and needs to stop that crap, she was the first solo female rapper to get a #1 hit without features, the first to get 2 #1 hits, first to get 3, you get the idea. I may not be huge on everything she's done, but good for her. I'm glad to see that she's been breaking boundaries. Still, like rap critics said, these are milestones that really should have been broken a long time ago. Especially because of Lauryn Hill and, well, this artist.
Say what?
No, we're not talking about the Bobby Shmurda song, at least not yet. Instead, we're talking about someone who actually mattered in hip-hop at one point and still has a strong legacy to this day. Enough to appear in a Super Bowl ad in 2018, at least. Despite that, I'm not sure how well this song's legacy has endured. It's no Get Your Freak On or anything. But you know what? I can still bump this. First off, wait, what? Why is he on here? I'm sorry, the only video version I can find of this song is a remix with Nas and Eve, and I'm not familiar with that version, so I'm not really gonna say much about their parts.
What's your name? 'Cause I'm impressed.
Anyway, I love this beat. Like, a lot. The melody is pretty minimal, focusing on being bouncy and epic sounding, and it plays against this percussion that I describe as chalky. The Smiths have a crisp feel, and the way they play against the melody is incredibly satisfying, starting on rhythm, then playing against the offbeat, if that makes any sense. And what do you know, Timbaland made this. I just now realized that, but yeah, that actually makes complete sense. But yes, the combination of Missy Elliott and Timbaland is a dream team, even though on this song, Missy plays the role of a gold digger.
I'ma dig in your pockets, dig in your wallets.
Well, at least she's being upfront about it. I think what keeps this behavior from becoming questionable is Missy's charisma. She sounds genuinely elated to find someone this rich and does not want to let him go. So she ends up singing both her verses, saving her rapping for the hook and bridge. And her singing is surprisingly delicate yet imposing. Kind of an odd tone, but she nails it. Besides, she's not giving nothing in return. Yep! She's gonna make meals for him. And not drugs. Meals. Man's gotta eat. And not do drugs. This is basically a textbook example of how a song's subject matter doesn't automatically make it bad. Missy's able to be a gold digger, but do it so damn well that I don't even care. It more gives off the message of, you're hot, I'm hot, let's make this a thing, alright? Team that up with Timbaland, and you've got a monster of a rap song that keeps me coming back repeatedly. Missy is our queen. Unless she's transphobic, in which case she is not our queen. Man, we need a new queen. Number 2.
Yo, listen up, here's the story about a little guy that lives in a blue world.
We're doing this. We're really doing this. Here's another trend I very closely associate with the early 2000s, goofy Eurodance. Yes, I know the song was made in 1998, and my tolerance for the genre varies because it can feel pretty dated in hindsight. Blue Dabba Dee is definitely not an exception to feeling dated, but it's wonderfully dated. The sloppy auto-tune, nonsense chorus, awkward spoken word parts, wonky synth melody, weird as hell music video, I love it all so much. It's like everything I want music to be all the time. Actually, scratch that, because that would be kind of hellish, actually. It really is an event that only happens every so often. A song from a niche genre from a no-name act gets inexplicably huge, even though it's the most meaningless thing to exist. Because let's face it, there's no deeper meaning to this whatsoever. It feels like it was made on a dare to stuff the word blue into a song as many times as possible. They tried to make it work by saying blue as a substitute for being miserable, at least I think? It's supposed to sound melancholic, I think. You're supposed to sympathize with the struggle of a man who drives a blue car and has a blue girlfriend. I don't know what else you want. Wait a minute. This was created by the happiest cult in Earthbound, wasn't it? Yeah, you could probably see that joke coming, but I'm pretty much obligated to make that connection. Anyway, what this song lacks in coherence, it makes up for in its sound. Despite its age reeking worse than moldy cheese left in the sun, these melodies are just the best. The pianos and synths are ridiculously catchy, and they're accented with some pretty funky bass and drum patterns. Jeffrey J's voice is slathered in more auto-tune and reverb than your average T-Pain or Future song, and it works to create a surprisingly unnerving atmosphere. Its strangeness makes this more compelling than the basic writing could on its own. When it gets rolling, those nonsense syllables are absolutely mesmerizing. And the only reason I make that claim is, because of memes. Yeah, if you thought I've been talking out of my ass for the past minute or so, you're probably not wrong. After all, the reason this has endured in public conscience isn't because it's profound or important, it's because of memes. But there is a place for memes in music history. Some songs these days only get big because of memes, and they're generally pretty terrible. Okay, never mind, my argument just completely crumbled. Okay, explanation 3 as to why I like this song so much. I just like it. Circular reasoning. This song just sounds good. That's the most coherent, least pretentious thing I can say about this. I'm just gonna leave it at that, move on to the honorable mentions, and then we'll end this list on something that's hopefully much easier to defend. Alright, fine by me.
Waiting for tonight.
I heard this song frequently while I worked at Kohl's, which is a surprise for me because I didn't expect them to play something so old. Ah well, at least it's probably one of the sexiest songs Jennifer Lopez has ever made. Not that that's been a hard bar to set in my experience. On the shoulders of Smooth, Rob Thomas was able to achieve a #1 hit with his band in 2000. Technically it's not remarkable, but damn it hits a sweet spot even today. Nostalgia rules, well-informed opinions drool. Ordinarily, when Three Doors Down occupy a spot on a year-end, it feels like filler. This, on the other hand, is killer, thanks to the marchy percussion and sticky-as-hell guitar riffs. I don't think these guys have made a song better than this, and I don't think they ever will. A classic in every sense of the word, but it pales in comparison to My Name Is, and especially Without Me. It's better than All-Star. If I ever find myself needing to make an argument for why I think Train wasn't always terrible, this would probably be the first song to come to mind. Sure, the writing is still whack, and Pat Monahan's voice is still a bit on the strange side, but holy crap, the rest of the band make up for that in spades. This sounds fantastic, and it makes their later period stuff even harder to stomach by comparison. This song is sung from the perspective of a small child who is sick of adults telling them that everything is going to be better someday. This is a big mood. It's silly boy band rock that just happened to hit a sweet spot for me with that groove and chorus. It's probably one of the most ridiculous songs on earth, but screw you, it's fun.
This is the story of a girl.
This is probably one of the most meaningless songs ever made, but I love it dearly. Maybe it's because we're currently in a Latin scene that feels so drab and repetitive and sleazy, but this shines so bright today. Sure, it's not sung in Spanish, but it's still what I'd much rather hear in Latin music, and it makes me sad that no one makes anything like this anymore. So that's what this song is called, huh? Yeah, I love it. This song feels unlike anything of its time or really any other time. I feel like it should make the list for that reason alone, but again, consistency isn't something we really do here at Cicabeot1. Technically, this is a bit of a pity mention. I've bashed this sort of slow, male-son R&B in the past a lot, so I feel like I owe it to the genre to include an entry that gets a lot right, even if I don't quite love it. This is a cheating anthem, kinda, with the woman being married with kids and starting an affair with Carl Thomas. But what separates this from so many other cheating anthems is, A, Thomas doesn't know about this beforehand, and B, he immediately shows remorse for what he's doing when he finds out. The beat may be a little too slow and uninteresting for my tastes, but this level of basic human decency was enough to catch my eye and leave a positive impression on me. Yes, the bar really is that low. Banger. Savage Garden's big hit this year was something called I Knew I Loved You, but if you ask me, this should have been the bigger smash. I refuse to believe people wanted to listen to a slow, cliched love ballad over this piece of ethereal bliss. Yeah, this is way more romantic, no contest. Doesn't mean I don't feel weird saying that about a piece of music made by a band called Savage Garden. That's a misnomer and a half. Humans can't be gardens. And now, number 1. Like I said in my worst list for this year, the Hot 100 is not always the most accurate gauge of what's popular in music and what stands the test of time. Some artists become underground darlings or fill a certain niche, like 9 Inch Nails. No one can dispute that Trent Reznor is an important figure in the music industry, having contributed to movie soundtracks like Lost Highway and The Social Network.
Trent Reznor did the soundtrack. Fuck this guy who invented Facebook. I don't like dying. I can't think of who the fuck invented Facebook.
And of course, 9 Inch Nails is a world-famous band despite not having a lot of Hot 100 presence. Closer, The Hand That Feeds, Hurt, and The Perfect Drug are all very well known, but they're not exactly going to crack the top 10 because they can be pretty abrasive. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna hear industrial metal on top 40 stations anytime soon, but strangely enough, that doesn't mean industrial metal bands can't make it in there at all, because in the year 2000, there was a band who deviated from the mechanical guitars and harsh drums that usually define their sound to make something much more mainstream friendly. Were they selling out? Possibly. Was it a stupid move? Maybe. Was the song any good? Well, honestly, I think it would be an insult to just say that it was good. So, ladies and gentlemen, everyone else, Filter. This was pretty much destined to be my number 1 for this year when I started making retro worst and best lists. Like Welcome to the Black Parade and Stop and Stare, this is a song I already knew and loved for years prior to tackling the respective year ends, and I have been eagerly awaiting to just revel in how good they are. This song is goddamn beautiful in every sense of the word. The dreamy electric guitars are transcendent, the quiet percussion makes everything feel vibrantly watery, the vocals are a surprisingly perfect mix of delicate and aggressive. It's a perfect storm of audio stimulation that I use as the standard for soothing music, and I adore it. And this is all coming from a band that's also well known for making this. It almost doesn't seem possible that these songs were made by the same people, even though I love Hey Man Nice Shot almost as much as Take a Picture. One of these songs is about a real-life event where a politician shot himself to avoid conviction for crimes of bribery and fraud, among other things. The other is about being so drunk you think it's a good idea to strip naked on an airplane. Can you tell this is a weird band? Yes, this is a beyond ridiculous premise for a song. It's not exactly a relatable feeling to many, and if it is, you probably regret that looking back and you don't feel euphoric. And yet, that odd scenario does connect with the aesthetic. It's an atmosphere where drugs are making you feel at ease and making you feel like you can do anything without consequence, rather than the cliche of making you see some weird things. Which also has its place, don't get me wrong, but I relate to this more. And just like with Stop and Stare, this is a song I turn to when I feel stressed or miserable. It's a fantastic trip every time I hear it. And after it puts my nerves at ease, it gives me the strength to let out some aggression. These screams alone are possibly the most cathartic in all of music. Not just because of how powerful Richard Patrick's vocals are, but because of the build it takes to get there. The guitar progressions change right before the screams, giving a great subtle build. But there's also the fact that this is a long song. The video unfortunately cuts it down to under 4.5 minutes, but the true experience is hearing all 6 minutes in one go. And unlike Only God Knows Why, it doesn't feel like it takes an eternity to finish because of how engaged it keeps me. Even with repeated sections, it doesn't feel like a moment has been wasted. Nothing drags. There's nothing but bliss. It may be a sellout song, I can't say for certain, and it may be a huge departure from Filter's usual sound, but I think it worked out for the better. It made a fantastic song, and as a result, it made my life just a little bit better. I'm Cicabeot1, and thank God I don't have to work another Black Friday shift this year. And take care. Hey guys, thanks for watching. I know this is the biggest gap between a worst list and its corresponding best lists that I've had, but I'm still getting used to solo living and all, so I hope you can understand that. Next review will be the top 10 worst hit songs of 2018 in December, so look forward to that. And bye!